Hello, my name is Steven Munatones, and thank you very much for joining our 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time webinar. We had a earlier webinar this morning, and I won't necessarily go over the same things. I'll go over some similar things, but uh, if you have any questions, there's a Q&A section down below where you can input your questions, and I can go over those, whatever they may be. They can be on using the KAATSU equipment, differences between the different types of equipment, whether it's a C3 or C4 or B2 model. I can go over the physiology of what is happening. I can go over what you can expect to happen when you do KAATSU properly. I can tell you what to expect when you do KAATSU improperly. But first, we did receive a number of questions that by email, and I'll just read those and then go over those. And again, if you have any questions, just raise your hand, figuratively speaking, using the action items below, or type in your questions and I can read it out to the group and we can discuss. And the questions include, the first one is, I had a muscle tear in my glutes, you're behind, years ago that have not healed. I've heard you say that KAATSU works systemically. So based on that, would you think KAATSU might help with this gluteal muscle tear repair and/or just stimulate the muscles around the tear to make them all work better? Even though the leg band is below your glutes and obviously on the top part of your leg. The simple answer is yes. What we mean by systemic is the fact that I have one band on my arm. You can see it here. I'm going to actually turn it on. It just started. And what's happening right now is, for those of you who are KAATSU users, but for those of you who are not, what's happening is the band inflates for 30 seconds. And then when it inflates, the circumference around my arm slightly squeezes. What happens there is my arterial flow, or the flow of the blood from my torso out to my hands, continues unimpeded. It is very much unlike other BFR products. BFR is blood flow restriction, and they use either tourniquets or modified blood pressure cuffs. And the purpose of those cuffs is actually to slightly impede the arterial flow, in addition to impeding the venous return. Venous return is coming back to your torso. KAATSU allows that arterial flow to continue unimpeded. And then what it does when the band is inflated, because it's inflated slightly, the blood coming back from the arm in those 30 seconds is slowed down. Think of this artery and vein here as a dam, and we're just slightly tightening the dam a little bit. And so what happens is you get an abundance of blood in the limb. And you can see here, I don't know how well the lighting is, but I just turned it on, minute and a half, 2 minutes ago. And you can see the effect it's happening. Blood is going in, it's staying around for 30 seconds. And then what happens is the blood fills up the tiny capillaries of my hand. This is my normal color hand, and this is my KAATSU hand. When that happens, that is the catalyst for a variety of things that happen in the body. Now, the band inflating and deflating at an incremental rate, that's all the equipment does. And it's meant to create this kind of engorgement of blood in your very small capillaries. Now, we know our vascular system is made of our heart, and the arteries that push the blood out to our feet and hands, and our veins that help the blood return back to the heart, and then the very small capillaries that branch off from those vascular vessels. And these small, you can sort of see the larger veins and where your artery is here and going through your legs, but you can't really see the capillaries. You can see the effects of blood engorgement in the capillaries, but you can't see the capillaries, not like you can the larger veins. And so KAATSU, the equipment itself, is just a catalyst for this blood engorgement to occur. When this blood engorgement occurs, then what happens is the body actually senses that engorgement, sends a signal through the central nervous system up to our brain, and then our brain senses some kind of stress, mechanical stress in the body, and then releases a variety of hormones. Now, there's other things that happen concurrently in the body, in the brain, your pancreas, and other parts of your body. And that is why we say KAATSU impacts us systemically from head to toe. So, to answer very specifically this question, if she has a muscle tear in her glute, the body knows that, the brain knows that. And so what we're doing is we use the bands to begin this process. We engorge the legs in blood, or we engorge the arms in blood. That sends a signal to the brain. The brain goes out and starts creating and sending out through the vascular system everything from human growth hormone, adrenaline, testosterone, BDNF, nitric oxide. Well, nitric oxide actually comes from the veins itself in the vascular tissue. And so it happens concurrently. All of that hormonal response, proteins, metabolites, etc., actually flow through our vascular system. And part of that vascular system is in our glutes. And every cell in the body has a small receptor. And that receptor is like a little antenna that says, hey, I'm hurt, I'm cut, I'm damaged in some way. And when the body very intelligently knows that it's injured, all of these healing hormones and beta endorphins, it's a pain mitigator, and other things are flowing through the body, and it gets to those cells in the glutes that it knows it's hurt. And so KAATSU serves as a catalyst for this healing mechanism. And so the answer is yes, doing KAATSU on your upper arms and upper legs will help your glutes heal over time. It's not immediate. What we recommend is you use KAATSU gently, conservatively, meaning pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. You don't need to feel pain. You don't need to feel pumped up. You just need to allow the equipment to do its thing. Then the body's natural processes carry on. So ideally, when you have this kind of long-term injury, we recommend using KAATSU twice a day, maybe sometime in the morning. It could be while you are waking up and or after you wake up and make your coffee, brush your teeth, blow dry your hair, check email, walk the dog, get your kids or grandkids off to school, or you go to work itself sometime in the morning, and then later in the afternoon or evening, do it again. This twice daily KAATSU cycle sessions are ideal for healing or not healing, to aid in the recovery of this muscle tear. The next question is, I have heard you say that this helps lower A1C levels. Have you seen it lowering cholesterol? Yes, we've seen A1C levels fall with people who are judged to be diabetic. why. One of the factors that is actually produced as a byproduct of KAATSU is IGF-1, insulin growth factor. And doing that regularly over a period of months has shown in our users and in research projects to lower the A1C levels. We've also heard from our customers that their triglycerides have fallen significantly. But we and others have not tested for cholesterol levels. So I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no. We've not tested it. Next question. This is very similar to the question that we took this morning. Is that would it be okay, or would it be a good to use with a power plate? And many people ask us about use of KAATSU in with a power plate, with Juvent, which is a low magnitude vibration plate. Can I use it on a spinning bike, Bosu ball, or other things that create some kind of instability? And that actually could include a treadmill. What we recommend for everybody, get used to KAATSU, do your KAATSU cycles, get accustomed to it, acclimate to it, understand how you feel, do some exercises. And once you gain experience, it could be a handful of days, it could be a few weeks. As you get stronger and stronger and more accustomed to KAATSU, then start using KAATSU with a power plate or Juvent or treadmill or on a Bosu ball. And the reason why is, if you don't have experience with KAATSU and you're new to KAATSU, and suddenly you get on a vibration plate, power plate, treadmill, Bosu ball, etc., quite often the lactate builds up in your muscle, and whether it's your arms or your legs, they start to quiver. And the very last thing that we would want is for you to experience fatigue, fall down, and injure yourself. So before you want to add another modality, add another device, such as a treadmill or a power plate, make sure that you're very well accustomed to KAATSU, strong enough to handle KAATSU on a moving piece of equipment, and hold on. Just be very, very careful when you use KAATSU, and certainly build up to it. Next question is, do you know if KAATSU can help with lymphedema? Everything we do, everything we state is based on research projects that have been conducted at various places. We've not done research project that we put in that have been published in scientific journals. So I don't want to say it is or it isn't, but we have not done testing with that. But if you do have lymphedema, the most important thing you can do, as to people who have, let's say, Raynaud's disease, some kind of neuropathy, is use KAATSU very, very gently, extremely gently. Put the bands around your arm with a 2 or 3 finger tightness. So typically I have this KAATSU on my arm with a 1 finger tightness, so I can fit 1 finger in, but I can't fit 2 or 3 fingers in. So if I try to shove 3 fingers, I can't. That's the standard tightness. However, for those who have lymphedema, neuropathy, Raynaud's disease, some cerebral palsy, people with cerebral palsy or multiple sclerosis, put it on less tightly. And then when you do turn it on, make sure you use only the KAATSU cycle mode and only on low pressure. get accustomed to it, just like using on a power plate or vibration plate. And then over time, you'll get stronger and your body will be more accustomed to it. Next question is, have you worked with anyone with long COVID who has post-exercise malaise? And if yes, has it helped or made it worse? Um, Yes, we've worked with people with long COVID, with ME, CSF, which is chronic fatigue syndrome, meaning they get very, very fatigued, sometimes for days after some sort of bout of exercise. Yes, we have worked with those patients, and in some cases, it's helped. In some cases, it's made it worse. Not necessarily worse, but I mean, what happened with the people who it impacted negatively is they actually did KAATSU too much. So quite often when you put these bands on and you turn them on, what happens is to them, it doesn't look like exercise. So I just turned the band on. It doesn't look like I'm doing exercise, but internally, my body is exercising. And that's why for people who have long COVID or ME, CSF, or have been bedridden for long periods of time, we always want you to start off very conservatively. That means a very low pressure and to only use a cut cycle. To begin, literally one cycle set per day for a period of time, then bump it up to 2 cycle sets, then bump it up to 3 cycle sets, etc. So people say, well, I'm only putting it on for 5, 6, 7 minutes. That's okay when you have long COVID or ME, CSF or other kind of uh, you have some other kind of condition. Always start off gently, always start off conservatively, and expect very gradual results. So, in other words, you can put the band on and just sit. You can be supine, you could be bedridden, just sit. No need to do something very, very physical. Put it on, and as many of our long COVID patients tell us, is like, I don't feel anything. And that's okay in the beginning. As long as your hand slightly pinks up, you're actually doing KAATSU. The body is actually doing something internally, but you don't have to do these bicep curls or exercises to get the benefit. In the beginning, just be very, very conservative, very, very gentle. Allow the engorgement of the blood in your capillaries. That sends a signal to the brain, and gradually you will get stronger. Very, very gradually. KAATSU is not a, get rich quick, get well fast modality. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes understanding, and it takes discipline. Discipline, why? Because we want you to do this daily. It doesn't matter that you don't use high pressure. It doesn't matter that you do something very, very physical. Just let the process work. Um, and we have a variety of other protocols for people who do experience or have experienced or are experienced long COVID or ME, CSF. And if you have any questions specific to your situation, you can always email us at info at KAATSU, KAATSU.com. Okay, I notice we have some questions here that were just inputted. Thank you very much. So the first one is, how does KAATSU impact the fascia? My Rolfer says my muscles have become too dense to iron, which he did not like. Any info that I can share with him about this? Um, okay, I want to make sure I understand this. Uh, it the rolfer is someone I'm not quite sure what a rolfer is. I think it's a um, practitioner of some modality. I'm not quite sure what it is, but his muscles are too dense to iron. I would assume some kind of massage or manipulation um, to make your muscles less hard or less spasmodic. I'm not quite sure. Um, so the question is, does it impact the fascia? So as you can see in my hand here, so again, this is my hand without KAATSU. This is my hand without KAATSU. And the amount of capillaries we have in our body is almost immeasurable. I mean, it is measurable, but we estimate, the scientific medical community estimates that if we took all the capillaries in our body from our head down to our toe and lined them up end to end, your body, my body, anybody's body, the distance of those end-to-end capillaries would circle the earth 2 times. That's how many capillaries we have. We have a tremendous amount of capillaries. And what you're seeing here, when I have the KAATSU on this low cycle, is the blood is being engorged in those very, very small capillaries. Now, those small capillaries are infused within the fascia. And when those capillaries are engorged in blood, what's happening is those capillaries are becoming more elastic, more resilient. Doesn't mean they're getting harder. It actually means they're getting softer. Now, concurrently, when we work with people who have had a stroke, when we work with people who have paraplegia, when we work with people who are quadriplegic, when we work with people who are amputees, we see that their fascia, their muscles, their bones, their ligaments are with KAATSU often engorged in blood. Those capillaries within those body parts becomes more elastic. And for many people, this helps them actually, the muscle becomes more toned, but it also becomes more, excuse me, flexible. It always becomes more um, um, manageable. What do I mean by that? For example, when we work with quadriplegic patients and their caregivers or their spouse or their partner has to pick them up from the bed and move them into the bath or the toilet or the shower, wherever they're moving, or into a wheelchair, quite often that elasticity of their vascular tissue leads to a toneness that allows the um, caregiver to more easily place the individual into a wheelchair, into their bed, into their bath, wherever they are at that moment in time. So KAATSU does impact the fascia. I will look through our research. We have a variety of research documents. This is a compendium of, a number of research articles, few hundred pages. We have 3 of those such books. Unfortunately, I'm not committed all of the research to memory, but there probably is something in there that I can send to you, so you can send on to your role firm. Um, and just send this same question by email to info@kaats.com, and I can get you that information within a day or two. Next question is, um, can you use KAATSU and do your regular weight training exercise? Yes, you can do KAATSU with any form of movement, exercise, or activity. Everything from piano playing and strumming on your guitar to push-ups, burpees, sit-ups, bench press, leg press, shoulder press, abdominal work, hurdling, jumping, running, swimming, wrestling, fencing, shooting. We have used KAATSU for performance and for recovery and rehabilitation for all the sports in the Winter and Summer Olympics. And obviously, when you're working with those kind of athletes or athletes in the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, there is a lot of strength training and weightlifting that they do. So anything that you do without KAATSU, you could do with KAATSU. Now, when you do have the KAATSU bands either on your arms or legs, you're going to want to lift less. So let's just say I typically would do a bench press, which I don't do, but if I did do bench press, maybe I'm using a 100-pound bar. I don't have to do 100 pounds. What I should do is put on the KAATSU bands using the KAATSU cycle. And ideally, and this is for muscle hypertrophy, so making the muscle bigger. If I want to make the muscle bigger, or that particular bench press or leg press or any exercise I'm doing stronger, what I should do ideally is, with the bands on, select a weight that I can do roughly 30 repetitions on the first set. So let's say I normally do, again, and I don't do, so I'm sort of talking out of school here. Let's say I'll do three sets of 100 pounds, and I don't know how many I could do, so I'll just say 10. With the KAATSU bands on, what I should do is actually, I'm going to turn my KAATSU on again, since I like doing two things at once. If it bothers you and I should, the sound is too much, I can turn it off. But so what I should do is do 4 sets of that exercise. So let's say it's bench press, and let's say I normally do 100 pounds. But now I put the KAATSU on, I select whatever SKU level that is appropriate for me to be able to do 30 repetitions. So that's a good number of repetitions that I could do 30. By the 30th, I should be able to not lift one more. Then I rest no more than 20 seconds. No more than 20 seconds, which isn't a lot of time. Use a watch or a clock on the wall and check out 20 seconds. By 20 seconds, you should begin your second set of exercise, second set of bicep, a bench press. On that second set, you will not be able to do 30 repetitions. You might be able to do 20, maybe 15. I don't know. It'll be something less. When you get to your point where you have muscle failure, stop, or technical failure, stop. Rest no more than 20 seconds. No more. That's very, very important. I'll explain why in a second. Then you do your third set. Your third set, because the amount of lactate has not completely exited from the muscle, you won't be able to do much more than 10 repetitions. Rest no more than 20 seconds. Then do your fourth and final set. Ideally, by your fourth set, you should only squeeze out 1 or 2 or maybe 3. Then move on to your next set of exercises, and so on and so forth. So 4 sets of exercise, 4 sets of each exercise. Ideally, you put the SKU or the pressure so you can squeeze out 30 repetitions on the first, no more than 20 seconds. Go to muscle failure again on the second set, no more than 20 seconds rest. Third set, no more than 20 seconds rest. And then the fourth set. What's happening is, because that lactate, you've built up the lactate, we call the first set priming the pump. You've really built up a lot of lactate, and then basically you're squeezing out as much as you can. So maybe that weight would be 20 pounds. Maybe that weight would be 15 pounds. I don't know, because I don't do bench press. And that is what you would do for exercises where you use weights or some kind of resistance. Maybe it's a rope, maybe it's some kind of bands or rope pulley, whatever it is. Now, if you're, let's say you're not, and the beauty of KAATSU is, let's say you're not at a gym. Let's say you don't have a set of weights in your room, or there's no fitness room or adequate fitness room in your hotel. You can still do unweighted KAATSU that will help build the muscle. And this is what you do. Let's say I'm going to do bicep curls. Let's say, and I've seen this before, let's say you're going to make a presentation, you have a tight shirt on, you want to get up on stage and you want to show off your muscles. What I would do is do as many bicep curls as you can, moving the muscle slowly as you contract in both the upwards and downwards um, directions. Do as many as you can without any weights, or you could use a water bottle. Do as many as you can, and then rest 20 seconds. Then again, another number of unweighted bicep curls, contracting your muscles upwards and downwards. Again, while the KAATSU band while the bands are inflated. Do that 4 times. You will, if you count your first set and then your second set, then your third set, you will also go from some high number to a lower number. What happens is the muscle will feel pumped up, it will feel toned, it will feel strong. Take off the bands, go ahead and do your presentation, go on your date with your wife or your partner. So that's, you could use KAATSU for any leg exercise, any upper body exercise. You could actually also use it for your core. Let's see. Next question is, I take bioidentical hormones. Will daily use of KAATSU affect the testing I will be doing soon? I don't know. I don't know. Bioidentical hormones. Bioidentical, so I guess they're synthetic or they're natural. Are they yours? And then, so I don't know if KAATSU will affect the testing you will be doing soon. It would be cool to find out. What you could do is do no KAATSU, test for your bioidentical, or test the KAATSU effects, and then do KAATSU and then do testing again. We did a similar, I guess not similar, I did it somewhat analogous test where I went up to the Buck Institute that's north of San Francisco, and I went there 3 times. I took, or the scientists took a vial of blood from me before I did KAATSU, then I did KAATSU, and then they took a vial of blood from me after KAATSU. The first time I went up there, I just sat and did KAATSU cycles on my arms and then my legs. They took blood before and after and compared. The second time I went up there, a few weeks later, they took a vial of blood. I did moderate KAATSU, meaning that I was doing our 3-point exercise, unweighted bicep curls, some squats, and then they took a vial of blood. And then the third time I went, several weeks thereafter, I did what I would call intense KAATSU. So I did push-ups, I did burpees where I'm jumping up and down doing push-ups. I ran up a hill. I really got my heart going. I really perspired. They took blood before and after. So I compared nothing KAATSU, meaning I just sat there and did nothing. I did moderate exercise KAATSU, and I did intense exercise KAATSU. The before and after comparison was similar to all 3 of those. Now, of course, the intense KAATSU exercise, there was more hormones, there were more growth hormone, there was more adrenaline, there was more beta endorphins than just sitting there and doing nothing. However, the relative increase was not much. I would say a 20% increase. And we did this with myself and with people, the oldest person was 80 or 81, I believe. And this held true across the board there. I don't know what happens with the effect of KAATSU on the bioidentical hormones. And so I would be very fascinated to learn. The next one is I have spinal stenosis. My right leg has been atrophying for years. Can cuts help build back the muscles of my right leg? So if you want to focus on muscle hypertrophy in a specific area, then what you could do there are two things. You could do traditional KAATSU, so put bands on your arms and then bands on your legs, do a variety of exercises. And exercise, remember, could be just contracting the muscle, just contracting the muscle and repeat, contract muscle, repeat, contract muscle, repeat. Or it can mean movement, or it can mean walking, or it can mean squats. So it all depends on what you um, can do. What you um, secondarily can do is what we call single limb KAATSU. So right now I am only doing KAATSU on one side. I'm doing it for demonstration purposes. But let's say I had a stroke. Let's say I tore a muscle. Let's say I had tendonitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, what have you, on my left side. I would be doing KAATSU, what we call single limb KAATSU, on that side. So when we have people who have ACL tears and then surgery. We have people with various bone breaks, tibia, fibia, or toes, etc. And they're athletes. What we do is we have them do single limb KAATSU. So in your case, uh, you can do single limb KAATSU on for your right leg. But I would also not ignore the fact that KAATSU's systemic effects. So I would also do KAATSU on my upper body. So first upper body and then do single limb KAATSU. So that's what you can do. Next question is, can it help with a niggling pain to the front of my shoulders? Perhaps. One of the, I don't know what is causing this niggling pain. Um, is it I don't know, is it some kind, did something tear? Did you strain something? Um, I don't know what caused it. Depending on what caused it, um, you could do various kinds of protocols, but the easiest protocol to do is simply sit relaxed, be well hydrated, mean that you take at least a bottle of water, a large cup of water, a half an hour within starting of KAATSU. And you could just sit and watch TV or work on your computer or read a book. Do that for a few weeks, then do it on your legs. You can go for a walk with the KAATSU on your legs. Again, don't forget the systemic effects. Um, when we have athletes or others who have, let's say, frozen shoulder, we put the bands on their arms. And let's just say, for purposes here, let's say I have a frozen shoulder, I have some kind of muscle tear or strain on my left shoulder. We don't, and we want to move it. And I did this, I remember, with a former teammate of, at those times, Lou Alcindor, now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he was one of his teammates at Power Memorial, I think it was, in New York City. This is back in the uh, early to mid 60s, I think. Anyway, this man, when I met him in Long Beach, California, he couldn't raise his arm above his shoulder. Um, and and he explained to me how that impacted his lifestyle, meaning when he had to wash his hair, he had to bend down and then wash his hair here. At his house, he couldn't put his dishes away. He couldn't put them up the cupboard. So he had all the dishes out on the countertop. There was a lot of things he couldn't wash windows, or he couldn't reach up and grab anything. So let's say he was in the supermarket and there was a shelf, he couldn't reach up to grab anything. So he came to us and said, I used to be a high level athlete. Um, he played basketball at Long Beach State, is where he ended up. Uh, uh, why he lived in Long Beach, and then so I said, okay, and he did exactly what I just told you. We saw him just doing regular KAATSU. Now, when we wanted to move his shoulder, what he typically would he move his shoulder up until the point where it's painful and then come down. Well, in KAATSU, we want the band to inflate, deflate, and move the shoulder right before it starts to get painful. So we don't want you to experience pain or discomfort when you're doing KAATSU. And lo and behold, it only took him, I think, 4 days. And suddenly he went from here to here to here. And what was his goal? His goal, because at the time he was coaching little kids play basketball, his goal was actually to shoot free throws, shoot 3-point shots, etc. And to this day, I remember we still have videos of him, and we're outside, and I'm passing the ball to him, and he's shooting his 3-point shots, and his smile was as uh, bright as can be. Um, oh, I see. So a rolfer is someone who gives a deep tissue massage. Ah, so actually, what you can do is, and I guess rolfing, I guess when a rolfer who gives a deep tissue massage can't iron, and I guess iron is making the muscle soft and supple. What you should do there is actually you should do KAATSU before you go to your rolfer. So in other words, and we have this all the time with masseuse, with acupuncturists and other people who manipulate the body in some way. In fact, in Japan, we have a lot of acupuncturists and physical therapists who actually do KAATSU before they start manipulating the body. And they swear by it. And again, these are people who work on other people's body with their hands day in and day out. And so what I would recommend you do is actually do KAATSU. You don't have to do a workout with KAATSU. Just do the KAATSU cycle before, uh, inflate, deflate, before you see your rolfer. And um, I would bet that if he judged your muscles to be too dense before, they should be better, however way that is defined afterwards. Again, what you want to do is increase elasticity, the suppleness, the softness of your vascular tissue, so then it enables your muscles, your fascia to be better manipulated. Again, no need to do a hard workout before seeing your rolfer. Just do the KAATSU cycle before seeing him. Um, how does KAATSU help with arthritis? So we have to keep in mind that KAATSU does not cure or heal anything. KAATSU does three things well. KAATSU, like I explained to the man and hopefully his rolfer, it actually enables the vascular tissue to become more elastic. And that leads to a hormonal response. And concurrently, it actually leads to the creation of new capillaries in the body. That includes the brain, that includes in the limb itself. So people with arthritis or arthritic pain, what they typically do is use KAATSU, and the arthritic pain falls for a period of time. It doesn't eliminate it. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it go away. All it does is it falls. And that has practical application. So instead of dealing with pain during your every waking hour, you're dealing with less pain for fewer hours, less pain for more hours. I'm sorry. And so why do we think this occurs? And this was, studies and practical clinical applications that we saw in Japan is that there is a C-reactive protein that it's what do you call it? It's uh, when C-reactive protein increases, your inflammation decreases, and vice versa. And so with C-reactive protein, we see that helps with this arthritic pain. And also, if you do some kind of exercises where you build up lactic acid, that actually helps uh, your body produce a pain mitigator, and that's beta endorphins. But keep in mind, this is only temporary. But in the case of my parents, that temporary relief is what they enjoy realizing every morning. And it allows, for example, my mother to be able to cook and my father to be able to do simple things around the home. And they're 88 and 90 years old. Do you have any anecdotal evidence if it benefits multiple sclerosis and ALS? There is a doctor and researcher, Dr. Dehan Goodenow. He's in um, Temecula, California. That's uh, let's say from Los Angeles, if you were heading out to Palm Springs. And he is doing remarkable things with KAATSU and his ALS patients. Good and now, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to type it in the Q&A. Let's see, um, where can I type it here? Um, oh, I'm the moderator, so I don't know if I can, I'm going to actually type the answer to Krista. Dehan Goodenow is his name, and good E now with an E. So good E now E. Goodenow is the doctor. Dehan, Dayan is his name, and he has been doing remarkable things with his ALL patients. Um, Here, what he's doing is he uses and I'm going to get this wrong, but some kind of cocktail of plasmalogens. And those plasmalogens actually help these ALS patients, but he has nothing to help build up. So he has nothing to help that ALS patient get stronger. And so what he does is what I've been explaining here, what we do with our quadriplegic or paraplegic or stroke uh, users is very gentle KAATSU, and the people start building mobility and strength. So KAATSU does not cure or heal or mitigate ALS by any means, but KAATSU is used by people with neurological diseases. Um, we are beginning a partnership with Lumia. This is a company in Boston, very revolutionary, with a revolutionary product. It's a hearing aid you put in your ear, and it measures the amount of blood flow and blood volume in your brain, something that's obviously very good for those that have POTSU or neurological diseases. And so what we've known for over 25 years that when you do KAATSU cycle, it increases the cerebral blood flow and volume. And so this is very good for people with dementia, very good for people with neurological disease or who experience something like POTSU. So again, what we want to do for patients who either lose the desire to be physically active or either physiologically or psychologically is allow KAATSU to be their form of exercise. For MS, very similar to um, people with neuropathies or a Raynaud's disease. What we want to do here, again, the people who have multiple sclerosis. They have all kinds of different and various symptoms. But here, instead of putting the bands at a one finger tightness, you would put it less tight. So you have a 2 or 3 finger tightness. So it's much less tight when I manually put it on. And then just do the cut cycles. You could do nothing. You could do very, very mild exercise and gradually allow the body to become more resilient, allow the vascular tissue to become more elastic. And so that's what we would recommend. Um, Has KAATSU explored, next question is, has KAATSU explored weight loss or weight loss maintenance after GLP-1, the semaglutide discontinuation? No, we have not experienced that. We hear, we understand, we read with what is it? Ozempic and other kind of drugs that have been sweeping across America, that there are uh, muscle impact on muscle or weight loss, and that obviously uh, that is a goal of many of the users. But what happens when you lose muscle along with that? We have not. I'm sure some of our users take Ozempic or other semi-glutides, but we don't have any. We've never conducted research on it. We've never conducted a questionnaire about those individuals. But if they did come to me and said, "What should I do?" My advice to them would be no different than all the other examples that I've given today and previously. Um, okay, so I think those are all the questions. Let me just check if there's any more. Um, has anybody, does anybody have any more questions? If not, please feel free to follow up with email to info at kaatsu.com. Please feel free to, you know, uh, research, ask questions, push us, whatever you see. There is a book, I'm going to pull it up here. Where is it? Just give me a few minutes to pull it up here. And then I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, it's pulling up. Okay, it's this book here. We have a copy of it, a digital copy of it, and it was written back in 2004 and 2005. This is the English translation that came out in 2006, I believe. And it is based on years and years of research by cardiologists, internists, exercise physiologists, etc. And it covers cancer, clinical depression, dementia, orthopedic injuries, people who are bedridden, physical activity, cardiac rehab, etc. And I think it's about, let's see, it is 200 and some odd pages. Let's see, it is 170 pages. And it's just a very good resource book. It explains the mechanisms of KAATSU, the science of KAATSU, and overviews of all the research that went in up until 2004. And we have those available. We have other documentation and materials, but if you would like a copy, just ask us at info@kaatsu.com, and we will take you up. The last question is, do we offer discounts? And no, we don't offer discounts, although there are some what we call affiliates, and those are I don't know how many we have. I think they're listed on our website. And if not, you can email us at info@kaatsu.com, and then our customer service people will put you in touch with those affiliates, and they usually offer a discount. Okay, so thank you very much. Good night, and I hope to see you or meet any of you. That would be very cool. And I often travel, so may our paths cross. Take care and keep up those KAATSU smiles. Bye.